Charboneau and David Lynn Miller.
Welcome to Dudes on Movies. I'm your dude, Scott.
I'm your dude, Dave.
And today we're discussing 1960's The Apartment, directed by Billy Wilder and starring Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine. But before we do that, let's talk about what we've been watching. Dave, what have you been watching?
I watched a documentary on Night Flight called The Man Who Fell to Earth. It's about the musician and artist Brian Eno.
Okay. It's not the David Bowie movie?
It's not the David Bowie film, yeah. Okay. This was just, rather than a narrative, this was a documentary, and I wish they would have used a different title, but yeah, here we are. But yeah, it was very good, and I watched it because I'm a big fan of Roxy music, and I also like Brian's solo stuff, some of which was used in Velvet Goldmine. Mm-hmm. But then I found out that coming soon, there's this new documentary about him that's just called Eno, which uses a software program so that a different version of the film is shown every time it's screened.
Okay.
The whole point, I guess, of this is to make a narrative like his more avant-garde work. I have no idea what to expect with all this, but the future's here, everybody, so strap in, I guess.
I hope this is an experimental piece.
Yeah.
And like Hollywood doesn't say, hey, there you go.
I have a feeling that it's going to be the former. This is an experimental piece.
Yeah.
I don't think that even like those assholes who make these kinds of dumb decisions would actually say, this is what we're going to do now.
It sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you have to rewatch it to get the full experience.
I guess you have to rewatch it infinite number of times.
Like, would it remix the scenes, or is it just like new stuff every time?
It's
I don't
both
get
of
it.
those things.
Oh my god!
Like the New York Times did a calculation saying that like there was like a quintillion number of possibilities. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I might skip it.
I know. Because I mean, how could you talk about it with other people?
We could never do it on the show.
No.
That would be an interesting show, wouldn't it? Like, remember that part where this happened? Nope.
No, I don't.
I don't remember that at all.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Never happened.
Fuck.
Well, that is kind of cool as an art piece, but
Yeah.
man, not as a film.
No. I wish that like they would not attempt this, but I mean, I guess time will tell.
We'll survive.
We
you
will,
know,
yeah.
That's like our catchphrase now. We'll be all right. You know, if everything's going to shit, we'll be fine. Speaking of going to shit, I watched a film called Take Shelter. It has Michael Shannon and Jessica Chastain in it.
Yes.
It's about a working man. He's a blue collar guy. He starts to go through a form of psychosis, and we see how it affects his family and how he doesn't think that's what it is until much later, and you see kind of his life gets almost destroyed because of it. Sounds like a great time, doesn't it? But it's a really interesting look on how mental health is perceived by people in just a normal day-to-day life. You know? Especially when it's a hereditary thing, because he knows, oh shit, I'm having these weird things happen, and my mom had the same thing, and he tries to hide it from his family, and of course his wife knows something's up, and you know, it all culminates in some big thing at the end, and it's quite a good movie, though. It's really good. I would suggest to everybody, and Michael Shannon is just amazing in everything he does. So
I know.
If you haven't seen this one, you got to check it out.
Yeah, I like that movie quite a bit, and I like the confrontation between him and Shea Wiggum in the bingo hall. That was a lot of fun, because I'm just standing there watching like, oh man, Shea, you're in over your head.
When he flips that table,
yes,
it's pretty good. Yeah, Michael Shannon's got like 2 feet on him.
I know, right?
But he ain't backing down.
No, he's a tough
you
guy.
made me lose my job, asshole.
Right.
What are you doing here? It's pretty good. All right, Dave. So let's talk about The Apartment. Why don't you give everyone a synopsis?
Yes. So this is Billy Wilder's look at the extremes that some people will go to in order to advance their careers and how everybody else's lives are affected because of it. And in this story, an insurance adjuster allows the management at his company the use of his apartment in the evening for their extramarital affairs, and he hopes that between this favor he does for them in connection with him putting in late hours, he'll be made a manager himself. But the whole arrangement begins to wear on him, and his life becomes more complicated when this high-ranking executive finds out about everything and wants in on it. And then the insurance man falls in love himself, and there are many more revelations after that. This movie has it all, guys, and I know it's going to be a good time.
It's Billy Wilder, black and white, good time, you know?
Uh-huh.
You can't go wrong with this. It's a lovely film. It's I think Jack Lemmon's character is something that that a lot of people can attach to, wanting to climb the corporate ladder or something like that.
Yes.
But let me talk about why I put this on the list. It's just because it's a great film. It's Billy Wilder. It's New Year's Eve. You know, this movie happens around New Year's Eve. That's
Right.
not the main reason I threw it on, but I was like, oh yeah, the apartment's excellent. It's around the New Year's time. Let's do it.
Yeah, we try to keep that theme, like Christmas and New Year's Eve. We for some reason we feel like we have to
I don't know
get
why.
a film in like that. Yeah,
I don't know. But I mean, it's the apartment. We got to talk about it.
and it's also a great film.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, the film was a huge thing when it came out, right? In 1960, it won 5 Oscars.
Right.
It won Best Picture. I read that it was the first time anyone had won the Best Picture award, the directing award, and the writing award for the same movie.
Oh,
so
okay.
Billy Wilder was the first person to ever do that. And I also read it was the last black and white film to win like the Best Picture award until The Artist came out in 2011.
Jeez, 52 years went by before another black and white film took. Okay, wait a minute. I think that's wrong.
Is it wrong?
Because Schindler's List came out in 1993.
Okay, so there's a caveat on that because there is color in the film.
okay,
So
okay,
Yeah.
Let's calm down, everybody. That's a black and white
like
movie.
the end of the film, you know, there's color. So
I wasn't even thinking about the little girl in the red dress. I was
so-
more like just
so yeah, you're right. You're right.
Oh.
But still, that's a good amount of time. There you go.
yeah.
So it's still a good movie, Dave.
Absolutely.
Talk about the apartment.
I'm of course it is. I'm saying that that factoid was incorrect.
I know. I
Yeah.
said it wrong too, though.
Oh, okay.
Because they did caveat the thingy.
I see.
The thingy. That's what I call Schindler's List now. The thingy.
Right.
Anyway, Dave, this movie's great. Let's talk about it.
Yes.
So the movie starts out with Jack Lemmon giving us like a voiceover about his life in New York City, you know, the big bustling city.
Uh-huh.
You know, he works at Consolidated Insurance, and it's this big firm, and he's been working his way up, and he's the hardest worker, and he knows all these stats about everything, you know, and how many people work here, the salaries, the hours, you know. He's basically an accountant for this company, and he's trying to work his way up. And he says, you know, everything's great, and except for, you know, he works late a lot, and it's because he has this little problem with his apartment. And we find out that what Dave said, he's loaning it to these other managers so they can have marital affairs with other ladies.
This guy has decided that his ticket...
Extramarital.
Yeah,
That
I was
makes
going to
more
let it go.
sense.
Yeah, right. He has decided that the way he's going to get ahead in life is by letting people in management walk all over him. Not just at work, but even in his free time. He doesn't have a home because these guys are using his place to fuck in.
I know.
I mean, what are you thinking?
It's the lamest excuse for he's so desperate to get this promotion, and he's such a pushover, right? Like these guys just we get a scene where they're like talking to him about, well, I need this night, but you said this, and you told me I could do it, and he's like, all right, fine, you know, and it happens right away. You know, we see him walking home, and he says, I can't always get in when I want to, and he's standing out in the front, and we see Mr. Kirkaby come out with some lady, and he's hiding behind like the front of the building, like the staircase, so they can't see him.
Right.
And they're talking. He's like, "Well, I got to get you home. I'll take you to the subway." And she's like, "The subway? You get me a cab." And I love what he says there. He's like, "Why do all these dames have to live in the Bronx?" And she says, "You bring other girls up here?" "Certainly not. I'm a happily married man." And it's that like sharp Billy Wilder dialogue,
Sure.
right? It's great. So we see right away, like, okay, these people are just taking full advantage of this guy. They're abusing this,
Yes.
right? Because he goes upstairs, he starts like cleaning up after them,
Oh,
and
man.
and then Kirkaby comes storming back in. Oh, we forgot our slippers, you know. And he's like, "You promised me you'd be gone at like 8:00 or whatever." And he's like, "Oh, well, we got tied up, we were busy."
He says you can't do the math on stuff like this. You don't know how it's all going to shake out.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So, yeah, but you said you'd be gone, but you weren't. I had to wait outside
Yeah.
for 2 hours. Yeah. And they don't care.
And I haven't
None-
even had dinner yet, he says.
Yeah. none of these guys give a shit.
Oh, of course
Sorry, I
not.
was getting laid. Fuck you. Thanks for the apartment, buddy boy.
Yes, his name is C.C. Bud Baxter.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, he goes by Buddy Boy, at least according to these, jerks that he works for. And they, like, not only do they leave a mess behind, but they get pissed off because he doesn't have the right liquor, or sometimes he's out of things.
Or the cheese crackers.
Or the cheese crackers. Because they're not just going there and having a quick one-off and then leaving. I mean, like, it's a full-on, they have to, like, have an evening planned for their lady friend.
Yeah. And the neighbors think it's him.
Yes. The neighbors think that he's this legendary swinger, but they're very, they don't approve of it.
Right.
And Dreyfus constantly tells him, that this is not right. Dreyfus is played by Jack Crucian, who was also nominated for an Oscar for his performance.
Yeah.
It's the key relationship, I guess, at the apartment house, because like Dreyfus is very involved in what comes later.
Yeah, he definitely is. And they seem concerned for him, too. Like, you can't keep going on like this.
Right.
Because we see Jack Lemmon hauls out this garbage bin full of empty liquor bottles, and the doctor's like, your liver must be, like, made of steel.
Yeah, right.
You should donate your body to science. And he's not even joking about it. Like, you should literally do this.
He also probably thinks he's, like, riddled with, all kinds of...
Oh, yeah, lots of diseases.
Yes,
definitely.
Right.
And what's so sad is Jack Lemmon kind of, like, basks in it. He's like, oh, yeah, you know me,
Yeah.
I'm just excellent.
It's a lie.
great.
I guess it's a lie that you find acceptable about yourself. Oh, yeah, I want everybody to know that I'm, like, getting lots of ladies.
Isn't that kind of sad?
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
He's such a pathetic character because he's such a pushover,
Yeah.
and then he doesn't ever want to tell the truth to anybody. Like, later in the movie, he's doing anything he can to protect Mr. Sheldrake.
Oh,
And it's like, dude, stop it.
I know.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah,
You're ruining your life for this dude.
This happens a lot with a lot of movies. You're very pissed off and you want the character to, like, show a little guts and everything.
Yeah.
And they just, in this one, man, it's like, it's one of the most legendary examples. I mean, like, Bud Baxter is such a doormat.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't see it as a character flaw. He's not very self-reflective. He doesn't look in the mirror and go, what am I doing?
Yeah.
He thinks this is what life is, and he wants so badly to have his name stenciled on an office door that he will put himself through all this.
This is how you get to the top.
Yeah.
He's playing the long game, I guess, and he's not good at it.
No, that's the other part of it.
And, like, after Dr. Dreyfus, tells him, like, he should donate his body, he's in his apartment alone. He's finally eating dinner, and you see how lonely he actually is. That's also sad because the fake persona he has as a ladies' man is not even close to his real life.
Oh, yeah.
He's sitting here alone, like, watching TV, and he, I think Shirley MacLaine even says something to him later, like, you just sit here alone? He's like, no, I'm not alone. I got, Mae West and, all these other movie stars and stuff. They keep me company. He just sits there watching TV all night. It's actually a funny joke because he's going to watch Grand Hotel, and it's like the announcer, and he's like, and we're coming back with Grand Hotel after this word from our sponsor. And then he, like, changes the channel. And after a couple channel changes, he comes back, and they're like, all right, now the movie of the evening. But after our secondary sponsor.
Yes, right.
Friends, do you have wobbly dentures? It's just a great fake commercial. I love it.
I love that too. I love this momentary satirical shot at television and its reliance on advertising, especially, like wobbly dentures. And even though I love that they did it, I hate that it got, like, exponentially worse over the next 6 decades.
Yeah.
Because now when you subscribe to, like, the biggest streaming services and you choose the most inexpensive option, it means you get ads.
Yeah.
And that's total shit.
You're
because
still paying for it.
If you agree to see ads, you shouldn't have to pay a cent.
It sucks.
I mean, they now expect you to pay for the privilege of watching commercials. What a scam.
Yep. How else are you going to learn about BetterHelp, Dave?
I know,
Unless you pay $6.99 a month.
Yeah, and I need to know about Harry's razors.
Yeah, I mean, they're the best, apparently. It's all there.
Yeah.
So as he's eating dinner here, or about to eat dinner, he gets a phone call from a guy named Dobich. He's another manager. He's at some bar, and he's on the phone in the bar like, hey, Baxter, you got to let me have your place. I scored big, buddy. And he says he met some girl who looks like Marilyn Monroe, and he needs the place. And after twisting his arm a bit, he finally is like, okay, fine, come.
man.
So he leaves the apartment and he like sleeps on the park bench and waits, like just waiting for this guy.
He was in bed when Dobish called.
Oh man.
And he gets up and it's late at night on a school night and
Yeah, he's got to be at work.
right. And now he's got to clear out for this asshole. The lady turns around and she does look like Marilyn.
Yeah.
And she even does the voice.
Yeah.
It's Ray Walston as Dobish. Him and David White as Eichelberger. They're my two favorite apartment users.
Okay, yeah.
Because I've seen them in other stuff. Ray Walston was my favorite Martian, and David White was in Sweet Smell of Success.
Okay.
Also playing a jackass in that movie.
Nice.
Like, very similar to this character. A guy like this old swinger who has no business being a swinger.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And this Marilyn Monroe character was an intentional jab at Marilyn Monroe.
Really?
That's what I heard. Because
Okay.
Billy Wilder was not too pleased with how much of a diva she was.
Okay, I see.
When he did the couple movies with her.
Right.
So he just like threw this in as, kind of a lowball insult.
I see.
Yeah, which
Well,
is kind of dumb.
I mean, yeah.
I don't think you should do that.
I don't think so either, because, I mean, time has not been kind to everyone's treatment of Marilyn.
No.
And, holy shit, Billy.
I think it's a good satire of her,
Yeah.
but his intentions were kind of mean, which sucks.
That's true. His intentions were mean, but yeah, I think that, like, having her just, like, this actress, Joyce Jameson, just kind of do a Marilyn impression, and it's not super unflattering. It's just, her...
Yeah. It's
Okay.
just like the stereotype when you think of
Yes.
what she looks and sounds like. It's just exactly that,
Yes. Right. So, good job,
but
Billy.
she's kind of dumb, too. Like,
Yeah, that's-
it's that also.
Yes.
A little ditzy.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so the next day we see Baxter going into work, and he's like all disheveled. He's super tired. He didn't get any sleep because he couldn't get in his apartment. Apparently, Dobich left the wrong key. Because what they do is they leave the key under the doormat so that they can get in and out.
Right.
He left the key to the executive washroom under the doormat.
Right.
So he had to sleep outside all night. He's got a cold. Like, he's at his desk, like, taking his temperature and, like, dealing with the papers and stuff.
Right.
And so he calls them, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry about that. And they have to, like, use inter-office mail to, like, move the keys back and forth. It's like this little messenger system. And so they're doing that. And while this is happening, he's also, like, calling all the other managers to reschedule things because he's sick. He's like, I can't let you come in tonight. He's like, got his calendar and his Rolodex, and he's doing it's some big production, right?
Because there's 4 of these guys. There's Kirkaby, Vanderhoff, Eichelberger, and Dobish. And he's made arrangements with all these guys, but because he's sick and he needs to stay home and, like, recuperate this evening, he's trying to, like, finagle this thing to
Yeah.
make, okay, can you move yours to Thursday? And so the other guy has to call his dame and
Yeah.
work it out. And then the other guy has to, like, make up an excuse for his wife. And it's just, it's so pathetic. I mean, he just needs to use his apartment to sleep, and he can't do it because he promised these assholes that they could.
Who gets away with this kind of thing? I can't believe it.
Speaking of Marilyn, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever see The 7-Year Itch? It's like 5 years before
Yeah.
this. Okay. Remember the beginning of that movie where the narrator is kind of like telling you, okay, it's the summertime. This is when men like to fuck around.
Uh-huh.
And you see like the wives and children getting on planes, and like the men are now by themselves, and it's time to do this. Like,
Yep.
it was just a known thing that
is
like
what happened.
Yeah, everybody likes to serial infidelity, because it's time to do it.
It's not real. At least I don't think it is.
I mean, I would hope it wasn't, but I mean,
this was an acceptable thing. Like, that's what the men do. It's fine.
And I think it's the same today for the most part.
I also think it was kind of just the place the woman was at that time. You know, like,
Oh, yeah,
the wife had
right.
to be like this.
Yeah.
Don't ask me where I am.
Yes.
I'm working.
And it's weird because it's like I don't think that these movies like portray it as heroic.
Oh,
Exactly.
they don't.
They don't.
No.
But they definitely show it as this is just regular life. I mean, Baxter later cutely tells Fran that all these personal facts about her. Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine are walking through the lobby, including her social.
Yeah.
I mean, he just
And she
commits
likes
these.
it.
I know, these HIPAA violations and gross misconduct. She thinks it's cute.
When he says that and she's like all smitten by it, I'm like, what is wrong with you?
I know. Come
You're
on,
going to get
Fran.
murdered one of these days. Someone's going to put you in a suitcase.
Yes, I know. That's right.
And I mean, that is her character, though. She's kind of that girl.
I know. It's just she does take a lot of risks.
But I can't believe these phone calls, jumping through hoops to make this happen, just so he could sleep in his own bed.
Yeah. It's really pretty shocking.
And while all this is happening, the guy at the top, Mr. Jeff Sheldrake, hears about this. So he calls, he's played by Fred McMurray. He calls Jack Lemmon into the office, to ask him about these keys that are floating around the office. And he thinks he's in trouble, right? He's like, oh no, he knows about all these keys going around. Gonna have to make up something. So he lies to him and says, well, I'm letting people use my apartment to change into tuxedos before their big events.
It's a pretty damn good excuse for having just thought of it in the moment.
Yeah, it's pretty, it's not 100% solid, but
right.
Someone might buy it.
Yeah, because it's just a dumb enough story that it might actually be plausible.
Because he knows there's 4 guys are doing it. He's like, well, I started with this guy, and then these other guys heard about it, and then they wanted to start doing it, so I'm letting them do it. And Sheldrake doesn't buy it for a second.
Yeah, Sheldrake is a bad man, as we'll see later, but he is also pretty smart, and he figured out exactly what Baxter was up to just from observing everything. He didn't ask anybody. He just knows that oh, I saw the key go back and forth, and now I know exactly what's up.
And I don't know if they talk about it in the film, but I feel like he must have discussed it with one of the other guys. Like, hey, what's going on here?
It could be that off screen maybe he did ask Eichelberger or something what was happening.
Yeah, but you're not wrong. He's a smart guy.
Right.
I mean, he's
very shrewd.
Yeah. But he's also a huge dick.
Yes, he is.
But he doesn't think he is.
No, because they never do.
Nope. So he finally gets the point across, hey, Baxter, I want to use the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Because what he says is he's got 2 tickets to go see the Music Man. And he's on the phone with his wife. And he's like, I got these tickets. I got to take out the branch manager from Kansas City. And Baxter's there listening to the call. And then he hangs up and he's like, well, Baxter, how would you like to go to see the Music Man? And he's like, oh, yeah, sure. But aren't you going to do that? And he's like, no, I'm not. I want to use your key. He's like, well, why? And it finally gets the point across. I love when Jack Lemmon realizes it. His face kind of completely changes.
Yes.
And without even looking or anything, he starts. He's got all these Kleenexes in his pocket. He starts pulling them out, and then he finally gets the key out and just slowly hands it to him.
Yes.
It's a pretty good moment. It's a very good comedy moment for Jack Lemmon.
And I liked even when he got the call to go up to Sheldrake's office, he thought that this is the moment he's going to get his big promotion.
Oh yeah, this is the promotion. Yeah, because he gets in the elevator. And that's where we meet Fran, right?
Yes.
Shirley MacLaine's character, Fran Qube.
Right, she's the elevator operator.
Yeah. So, and he's in there flirting with her, which he's so confident, but he's such a pushover. I don't get it.
Well, yeah, because he's just a milquetoast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he doesn't. I don't know if he has a lack of confidence but he just doesn't feel like he has anything to offer, and he's talkative, but he just. It never dawns on him that he could ask her out, or at least just even maybe even entertain the idea of asking her out.
And it's also in that elevator when Kirkaby's there and he smacks her on the ass.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason human resources exist is because of men like Kirkaby and Sheldrake.
Because of Billy Wilder movies.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. And I mean, I know it's gone to the other extreme in many ways today, because if you've ever managed people in a corporate environment, you know how difficult it is to fire somebody, even if they deserve it. But technically, it's not HR's fault. It's because guys from our grandparents' generation treated people like garbage and or fired them unfairly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now we got to deal with this crap.
That's right. If this ever happened in today's world, obviously, the first thing a person would do would be to either, if they knew what they were doing, they would go to HR immediately and say, "This is what just happened."
I would hope so. You've seen enough videos,
I
right?
mean, yes,
right. Training videos.
I would hope so. Yes, well, very well acted training videos.
Right, but I mean, it always sucks when you see people in power abusing their influence, right?
Yes.
And that's what these guys are doing,
Right?
And I feel like this is just infecting corporate America. It's in every place, right?
Yeah.
Every business has this. Every political office has this. It's just sadly part of what humans do.
I know, because they get power, and it's not enough that they make more money than everybody else. They want to have sex with as many people as they can.
Yes.
And because they feel they're entitled to it.
Yeah, they want to fuck people.
Yes.
Whether physically or mentally
that's
or
right.
emotionally.
That's
they want
right.
to do that.
It's never enough. They're never satisfied.
Yep. Screw them over one way or another.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah. So Jack Lemmon gives him the key, and he's got these tickets to the Music Man. So what he thinks, I got these tickets. I'm going to ask Fran out on a date.
Right.
So they're going down the elevator. Or is he waiting in the lobby for her? He is. He's
in the lobby.
waiting after work.
Yeah.
She comes out. He hardly recognizes her because she's not in her elevator operator uniform.
Right.
And he starts talking to her, and, they're hitting it off. And he's like, hey, I got these tickets. Let's go, And she's like, oh, well, I already got something with another guy. I'm sorry. And he's like, oh, well, that's fine. But, I mean, it's at 8:30. You can come afterwards. And she agrees, like, I'll come. When I'm done with this guy, I'll come and go to the movie with you.
Uh-huh.
Which is pretty cool, She wants to go with him.
It is. I think it was the wrong move on Baxter's part to wait in the lobby and then get her as she's walking out. Because, I mean, who knows what she's got going.
What do you think? He should have went earlier?
Yeah.
Straight to the elevator?
I think it was straight to the elevator and just said, hey, listen, I got these tickets. And I know it's short notice, but it's for tonight. What do you say?
That's true. That's the move, right?
Right.
And I don't smack your ass when I do it.
Jesus. I can't
Maybe
believe...
after the movie we do that.
I can't believe...
Kirkby deserves the fault on that. What's great, though, is that Shirley MacLaine is like, hey, asshole, I'm going to get your arm stuck in this door and cut it off one of these days.
I was glad that she threatened him with a Michael Ironside.
She is an interesting character because she's got very different levels to her. Like, she's got that, like, fiery spark, but then just the, like, really, like, self-destructive side, too.
Yes.
Totally down on herself.
She is the best character in the movie, and Shirley MacLaine, like, really is awesome in it.
Yeah, she's excellent. So it turns out what she's doing before the movie, she's meeting with Sheldrake at this Chinese restaurant, and we find out that they had a thing going over the summer, and they haven't spoken for 6 weeks because he's married and it can't work.
Right.
And she's in love with this guy, or she thinks she's in love with this guy, and he is just this powerful asshole who gets anyone who's remotely interested in him to fall in love with him, and he just abuses his power.
When you watch the way they deal with one another, like, obviously Sheldrake is, like you said, very powerful. He doesn't yell at people.
Yeah.
He like never gets too emotional about anything, and the way he talks to Fran in this moment is he's just trying to get her to come with him, and he's being so casual about it.
Yeah.
He's a liar and a manipulator.
Manipulator's the perfect word for this.
Yes.
And there's some moments where he's almost gaslighting her. Like later, he's like, "Why'd you do that to me?"
Right.
Like, she didn't do shit to you, dude. She almost killed herself.
Right.
Spoiler alert, everybody. but yeah, it's not about you, but he's making everything about him.
Yep.
And she mentions later, she's done this quite a few times with quite a few men, and it always ends up the same.
Right.
And she's not happy with herself.
Right.
So she's just doing this again. She's trying to break it off here. They're at this Chinese restaurant where they used to always go or whatever. They had got their normal table, the normal food. And the issue is he wants to leave his wife now. That's what he's saying to her. I promise you, I'll get a divorce. And she's like, I didn't even ask you to do that.
Right.
But he wants to. And so he's just saying anything he can to get her to stay with him. Because it's, a nice young Shirley MacLaine. You got to have her, right? He's got to have her for his collection.
I mean, yeah, that's what we know now. Mm-hmm. And in the well, I guess as the audience, we know that that's what he's after.
You can see that's kind of what's going on here.
Right.
Yeah.
But as the other person in the relationship, like you can see how, gosh, and I've had so many friends where this has happened to as well.
Yeah.
Where they're waiting for the guy to leave his wife, and he always says he's going to, and years will go by.
Yeah.
You just can't convince them. And look, I carried a torch for somebody who was out of my reach too. Not they weren't married exactly, but like they were going out with people who weren't me.
Yeah.
And my life was affected by it, and I lost years of my life passing up opportunities with other people just on the chance that this might happen. And it sucks.
Yeah. It really sucks.
Right.
And I think it's a lot more common than we think.
I mean, I think it's probably epidemic. That's just how it's always been.
Yeah. So I mean, they're there, and he somehow convinces her that he still loves her and that he's going to divorce his wife.
Right, because half the time that's usually what he's able to do. I mean, like the man is these men.
That's how he built this company from the ground up.
I mean,
Dave.
God damn it, yeah, that'll be
on the corpses of many.
I mean, and if it was today, he'd be on the lecture circuit. Yeah, he'd be like all these conferences you go to, like talking about success.
Yep, he'd have books.
Sure,
he'd have a podcast, a motivational podcast.
Yes, you know those obnoxious ads you see at the bottom of your podcatcher with some smiling asshole. That would be this guy.
Yep, that's him. So they leave, and he convinces her to go to the apartment with him and ditch what she was planning on doing before.
Right.
And then we cut to Jack Lemmon standing outside this theater with the crowd kind of just waiting, looking around. She's not showing up. Poor guy.
Yeah, he got totally stood up.
He got ditched. So the next day, I guess it's the next day, but Baxter is at work, and he's packing up his desk, and he's walking to this new office that he got. I guess Sheldrake gave it to him.
Yeah, Sheldrake made it happen.
Yep. So this was the game plan, I've been working hard. I've been letting you guys fuck in my bed, and now I get, an office with no privacy.
I know. I know. I like Baxter kind of feels good about everything when Sheldrake gets involved because now he, I guess, technically only has one client.
I guess so, because the other managers come in, they're like, hey, buddy boy, what's going on here, man? They say, we went to bat for you, and now you're not playing ball. I love that line. It's pretty good.
I know, especially the way like Ray Walston delivers it. It's just very much, hey, nah, come on, see?
Yeah, it's great. So, I mean, they're upset about it, and Sheldrake like kind of walks in, and he's big and tall and like overshadowing everyone.
Yeah, Fred McMurray is a large guy.
This guy's huge, man. And he comes in, and it's just Sheldrake and Baxter now. Baxter hands him this pocket mirror that was left in his apartment. That's this moment, right? I think it is.
It is.
And it's this like mirror that you put in your pocket. It folds open.
It's compact.
Yeah, it's a compact. That's right.
Yeah.
And there's like a crack in the mirror. And he's like, hands it back to him. He's like, yeah, it was cracked when I found it, though. And he's like, oh, yeah, she threw it at me, because I'm an asshole.
Right. You know how it is, Baxter.
Women.
Right.
Yeah.
You take a dame out just for laughs. All of a sudden, she's thinking about marriage. And he's sitting there, oh, yeah, that is how it is, sir.
Yeah, like he knows.
I mean, number one, he doesn't know. Number two, he could stand up and go, oh, well, that's actually not true,
yes,
sir.
Exactly. Stop agreeing.
Yes.
He's such a wimp.
I know, yeah.
I hate him. I hate him so much.
He's a spineless non-entity.
He's a good character, but we just hate this guy.
I know.
Stand up for yourself. Right. Come on. So, after this scene, I guess I don't know if it's this day or a couple days later, it's the work Christmas party, Dave. And this is what I think of when I think of work Christmas parties.
Okay.
Like we talked about on our Christmas episode, Die Hard and the Nakatomi Christmas party, like with cocaine and sex in your boss's office. Like that's what's happening here. Everyone is making out. People are on the tables dancing. One of them's doing like a sexy strip tease.
Yeah, that lady does a burlesque in front of everybody.
She like throws like it's not her panties, but something at a guy,
and
everyone's
garment.
like, "Oh yeah!"
And she's doing like a da na 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 na, and it's like, man, can you imagine anything of the kind at where?
And all the managers
work?
just kind of walking around. Everyone's drunk as shit.
I mean, even one drop of alcohol within the office that you work. I mean, like, could you? I can't even picture what it would look like.
What a time to be alive, man.
Yeah, it's just everybody was smoking at their desks and drunk as shit during business hours and carrying on with each other. I mean, like when Baxter goes into his office at one point to get a rest, and there's those two people just like full on at second base.
Yeah, right in his office.
Right.
Yeah. So what he does, he goes and gets Fran from the elevator, like, hey, come to the party, and he gives her a drink, and she's like hesitant because she's like, well, I'm working, I can't leave, and he's like, whatever, I know Sheldrake, I got lots of pull around here, come with me, I'm a big shot now, I got my own office. And so he's all like excited to hang out with her on Christmas, right? Like, and they kind of apologize to each other about, well, she apologizes to him about like standing him up on the date, and he's like, oh, it's fine, it happens. And so they're on good a good foot right here, you know.
Yeah, they're getting along with each other, and they have an understanding. And even though, yeah, she stood him up, he's okay with it, probably because he just, you know, well, he doesn't have much of a spine, as we've established. Yeah. But also, you know, he really wanted to spend time with her, and he's got this opportunity. So he's alone with Fran in his office.
Yep.
And he's trying to make a good impression. And he gets out this hat.
This bowler hat.
This bowler hat where he thinks he looks like, you know, one of the Avengers, but he doesn't. And, like...
I think he looks pretty nice.
I don't think it suits him at
it
all.
Looks all right.
I mean,
when he cocks it to the side a little, it looks better.
Well, but that looks too much like an affectation. Like
okay,
if you wore it to the side like that, I think you're trying to be Steed, you know. And I don't know.
And this guy would try to be like that.
He would.
So yeah, okay,
right,
all right.
But there's a moment where Fran gets out her compact.
Yeah,
and Baxter sees it. It's the one with the crack in it.
Yeah, because he wants to see what he looks like in the bowler hat.
Yes.
So she gets it out and hands it to him, and he realizes, oh my God, Fran and Sheldrake were using my apartment.
Right.
The woman I'm totally in love with is banging my boss.
It's it's a tough one to swallow.
Yeah, it sucks, you know, and he's kind of just completely put off at that moment, like, it's bad. And she's already kind of in a down mood because right before they went in the office, Sheldrake's secretary came up to her and was like, oh, hey, so you're the new meat, basically?
Right.
Like, I used to be the branch manager from Seattle before you came around. Yeah, and
she names like 6 other ladies. Oh, man,
yeah.
And it's all the same setup and everything. Oh, let's see. That booth at the back of the Chinese restaurant? Oh, yeah, and he's definitely he wants to leave his wife right now.
Yeah.
And it was the beginning of the summer, and now we're like 6 weeks into fall, and yeah, that's about. Am I correct?
Yeah.
And it's devastating because she describes exactly the scene that played out.
Yeah.
And obviously, in that moment, you'd feel like a total fool.
Yeah. And she does. And I feel bad for Fran, but you also feel bad for the secretary, right?
Miss Olsen,
Miss
Edie
Olsen.
Adams character,
and
right?
She's been through the same ringer from the same guy. And she's kind of doing this out of spite, I think.
Right.
But it's part of it seems almost like a favor in a way.
There's a bit of solidarity
there. Giving her a warning.
Right.
But also, I'm bitter about this because, oh my God, I love how she always listens in on his phone calls. Though.
I know.
It's always funny
great,
when she like slowly picks it up and listens.
Right.
It's pretty good. But yeah, so she's already had this interaction. And now he's seen the broken mirror. So they're both just like totally not in the Christmas mood anymore.
Yes.
They're not in the mood to do anything fun. So she what he says something. So when she sees his face, she says, "What's the matter?" And he says, "The mirror, it's broken." And she says, "I like it that way. It makes me look the way I feel." Which is quite a line.
Ooh, man.
It's like, no, Fran, come on.
I know.
You're breaking my heart here.
And what comes next when we see what she has to deal with, because she goes to the apartment right after this, and it's Christmas Eve, and it's her and Sheldrake, and she got him this gift.
Yeah, this nice record.
Right. And it's a song that we've heard a couple different times throughout the movie, and it's on this record, and it was a very thoughtful thing, and Sheldrake didn't have time to get her a gift. Here, you know, I'm just so busy. You know how it is, babe. Mm-hmm. And he gives her $100 as a gift. Get yourself something nice.
Yeah, this scene makes me so angry, Dave.
Yeah,
and it's supposed to, right?
Of course.
And the way it's shot is amazing because Shirley MacLaine is sitting on the couch and he's kind of towering over her, just standing there. He's not like imposing himself over her,
he's
but
not
just
looming.
The way the camera is shooting up on him makes him look like he's superior to her.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's commanding the situation. And she's just this, like, tiny little thing tucked away. So you get that as they're talking, but then also when he pulls out that money and hands it to her, it's kind of a close-up on her face, but his hand with the dollar is kind of just in the foreground enough, so it's, like, right in her face.
Yeah.
And Shirley MacLaine just is staring blankly at this dollar like, you did not just do that to me. He says like he has to leave or something, we got to get going or something. She stands up and starts like disrobing a little bit, like she takes her jacket off,
right,
as if like we're gonna get naked and start having sex. He's like, no, don't do that. I got to go. I told you. And she's like, well, I figured since it was paid for, you know.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, dude. And he's like, oh, don't be like that, Fran. You know I have to be home to decorate the tree. Like,
I know. He's going to trim the tree. Come on.
God, you asshole. And then later when we see him Christmas morning, he's playing like G.I. Joes with his kids. Like whatever 1960 G.I. Joe thing he had there. Right. They're like shooting missiles in the air. I'm like, this guy sucks. This guy needs to die. I hate this dude.
This situation of like the guy who works in Manhattan, he's a high-powered executive, and he has a house.
Yeah.
Like someplace that's like where he has to get on a commuter train and take a 2-hour trip every night. And why he does this, why he doesn't just move his family to the city, I have no idea. But like tons of guys just lived like this. They had this idyllic suburban home life, but they worked in the city and they ran around on their wives. I mean,
oh my God.
Yeah, it's and I've seen that in like pretty much. I just described the plot of Mad Men. Also,
yeah.
I mean, that's what that is.
Yeah, he is a Don Draper type character.
Right.
Yeah, he's got the charisma and he's got the influence.
Yep.
He's got the power. So, yeah, this might be my favorite scene in the movie, just because of how powerful the moment is. And Shirley MacLaine is just amazing. I'm a big sucker for Shirley MacLaine.
I know you are.
I love her, man.
Yeah.
So, the way she responds to him is just, it makes you so sad. You feel so sad for Fran throughout the whole movie, pretty much.
Right.
Until the very end. But, I mean, he just leaves her there to cry.
Yep. He has no idea what he did to her.
He has no idea how insulting he just was.
Right.
So Baxter, this whole time, he couldn't go home, right? Because he lent him the keys.
Right.
He's at the bar, and he's just like, I don't know how many whiskeys he's down. It's like 12.
Yeah.
And this other babe starts shooting straw wrappers at him to get
Margie.
his attention.
Yeah.
Yep. Mrs. McDougal.
Uh-huh.
And she comes up to him, is like, hey, you buy me a drink, I'll buy some music. And then, they start hitting it off. They dance the night away, get kicked out of the bar, and they end up going to his place. And he walks in, and they're getting comfortable, and the record is still spinning. Because it's been spinning all night.
She put Rickshaw Boy on to, be sad.
Yeah. So, and he goes into the bedroom, and he finds her laying in bed with a bottle of pills next to her, and realizes what has happened.
Right.
So we do get to see her take the pills before this. We kind of skipped over that, but because of what happened to her, she looks in the mirror in the bathroom, sees the pills, takes like a whole bottle of sleeping pills. So he stumbles into this room and finds her, tries to wake her up, and then realizes what has happened. And then this scene gets really, really tense real quick.
Yeah.
Because we know what's happened.
And he has to, rid himself of Margie, and it's really uncool what he does to Hope Holiday here, and just puts her out in the hallway.
Yeah, and it's great because she's like, I'm going to tell my husband how you treated me. Because her husband's in, a Havana prison.
Yes, right.
But yeah, he went and got Dr. Dreyfus from next door, come help. And he walks in, he's like, wait a minute. You have a dame dying in your bed,
yes.
But you have another one here? And he's such a wet blanket. He makes up a lie. He's like, yeah, well, she fell asleep and I went and got another girl, Just tell him what happened.
I know. Come on, man.
Stop protecting Sheldrake
or
your reputation, which is not a good one.
No, of course. And this fake reputation that he has with the Dreyfuses, what if he actually was honest about it, said, listen, here's what I'm doing. I'm letting all these guys at work, use my apartment to...
I think I think he's worried about getting kicked out of the apartment for doing something like that.
Okay, yeah, that's true. That would be immoral in some way. Mrs. Lieberman wouldn't like that.
Yeah, I think that's what he's worried about. But yeah, so the doctor comes in and is freaking out. He's like, get some coffee on. I'm going to go make her vomit in the bathroom. And
right.
You kind of hear her spitting up the pills and stuff. And then Shirley MacLaine is just passed out through this whole scene, which lasts about 10 minutes.
I know. Jack Crucian has to carry her around for a good long while. He it goes from the bathroom or from the bedroom to the bathroom and then out into the living room. And the slapping,
Yeah.
It happened. I mean, there's about 5 or 6 of these where he's trying to get her to snap out of it, and he has to slap her face.
Yeah, and these are real slaps.
It feels real.
I read that they had an actual doctor there to consult on this.
Okay.
Like, in this kind of situation, that's what you would do. Literally, this person, if they don't wake up, they might die.
Right.
So you got to shock them out of it. So
Got it.
I think this is one of the only instances in cinema history where I'm okay with someone smacking a woman.
I mean, yes, it was like if it's life and death, it's gonna say
a doctor, and he's not like smacking her
No.
and be like, "Oh, now you're not crying, good."
Right,
you know?
right. Yeah, he's doing it for medical reasons.
Yeah, this
yes.
is like wake up or you're dead.
I'm
right?
saving a life.
Yes. So she gets smacked like 5 or 6 times, forcing like coffee down her mouth so she can drink it and wake up, and she's barely there. She's like coming in and out of it. And they have to walk her around, and they start marching her around on holding her arms over their shoulders so that she's moving and not falling asleep. And they must have spent several hours doing this.
Yeah, because they say that Dreyfus says that we have to like make sure that she doesn't fall asleep for another like 2 or 3 hours because that's the only way she's going to survive this. And they do it. I guess they have her, and it's like Shirley MacLaine has one arm around Jack Lemmon and the other arm around Jack Crucian, and like they are dragging her, and the camera goes down to like everybody's feet, and you see eventually she starts walking a little bit, but like they have to carry her around a little bit.
Yeah. They tuck her in eventually, and the doctor says like she needs to rest for like 48 hours at least to get this out of her system. Like she's going to be in and out the whole time.
So essentially, like, Baxter has to watch over her for 48 hours.
Yep. The whole weekend. And the doctor really like lays into him. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
This should be a wake up call. This should never happen again. And if you keep doing what you're doing, it will.
And he's doing it with the mistaken notion that like this is like another of Baxter's like conquests. But he could just as easily be telling him about his real personality. Like, this is a wake up call, dude.
Yeah.
The only reason this is happening is because you gave your key to somebody at work to have an affair.
Yep.
Show some fucking moxie.
Get your shit together. Be a mensch.
Exactly. That's right.
All right, Dave, why don't we take a break here, and we'll come back and we'll find out what happens in the morning.
There you go.
All right. Dave, we're getting closer to January, and you know what that means, don't you?
Yes, I do. It's everyone's favorite time of year, Dudes on Demand.
That's right. Every January, we ask for your help, everybody, because our recording schedule is made up of only listener requests. That means you guys program the show.
Yes, and we'd like to get an early start this year. We'll be promoting this on our social media accounts, so if you have a movie you want us to review, please respond to us on those posts or email us at dudesonmovies@gmail.com.
That's right, and we always love doing this so much, so please send us your requests, and as always, thank you so much for listening. Hey dudes, we know you like the show, so if you want more of what you like, please head over to our Instagram and Facebook accounts where we post additional stuff about the movies we cover.
That's right, everybody, and even though we've been the most active on Instagram and Facebook, we've also recently started doing a lot more with TikTok and Blue Sky. And our last 20 episodes have also been uploaded to our YouTube channel.
Yes, and along with the episodes on YouTube, we've also done some supplemental videos, and we plan to do a lot more soon. So please go to any of these accounts to hang out with us, and as always, thank you so much for listening. All right, Dave, we're back. We spent the night. We're in the morning now. Shirley MacLaine is waking up, and she's okay. Right. Thankfully. So what happens in the morning, Baxter calls Sheldrake, and he tells him what happened. He has like a special like person-to-person phone call so no one can hear. I don't know what the hell that means. It's 1960 telephone technology, so they can't listen in. Is that what that means?
I guess that's what that is.
Okay.
But yeah, phone technology, it took a lot of doing.
So anyway, they're talking privately apparently in Sheldrake's foyer. He just left his G.I. Joe playset on the ground.
Yeah, he's in his robe. I mean, he looks like he does in My Three Sons. It's the same outfit.
It is. He needs a pipe.
Yeah, right.
So he tells him what happened, and Sheldrake is kind of pretending to care, but not really. He's not even doing a good job about it.
Right.
And his wife comes down the stairs at one point, and he's like, oh, yeah, one of the employees are sick. I don't know why they call me about this stuff.
You're the director of personnel. That's why they're calling you. You could have just said, oh, yeah, one of the employees are sick, and I'm concerned about it. Now you made it look like to your wife. I mean, she already thinks you're an asshole, and now it's like, oh, he doesn't even care about his employees.
How many of these affairs does she know about, do you think?
At this moment, probably 0.
I think he's gotten away with it.
Yes.
That's how I feel.
So I mean, yeah, I said she thinks you're an asshole. I think maybe just in general, most women were married to assholes, so they just thought their husbands were assholes, you know, whether they knew about their affairs or not.
Yeah. So, I mean, he is.
Yes.
So, Baxter asks him, like, well, is there anything you, like, a message you want me to give her or anything? No? Okay. No message, you know. Nothing.
You don't want to talk to her?
Yeah, don't want to talk to her. And as he's on the phone with her, Shirley MacLaine's getting out of the bed and, like, coming out of the bedroom, like, in the background of the shot. And, you know, he hangs up the call. And she comes out and says, why didn't you just let me die? She's still in that depressed state, man.
Well, when you try to kill yourself and you do it in a way that, like, is guaranteed to work, then you really wanted to do it.
Yeah.
You're obviously, like, in a place where if you don't want to live anymore, you have completely lost it. And
yeah.
I guess if you were rescued, maybe that would be the first question you'd ask. Why did you save me?
Yeah, why did you do it?
Right.
Well, because everyone deserves to live. Like,
right.
Even if you don't want to, maybe it'll pass.
Yeah.
And you'll find something to live for. And I know that's easy to say.
Right.
You know, it's hard for a lot of people.
Like, imagine being that broken.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
Right.
Yeah, I had a friend who did that, and it's awful, man.
Yes.
No one should have to go through that kind of pain.
I know.
So, but what she wants to do here, she wants to call her sister, though, to tell her where she is, because she lives with her.
Right.
And they're going to worry about her. And so Baxter won't let her because he's still trying to protect Sheldrake's interest. He doesn't say that to her. He's kind
Right.
of like, well, what are you going to say? You know, where were you all night? You were at a girlfriend's house, right?
Yeah.
You weren't at a man's house, right? And she can't keep her story straight, so he doesn't let her call.
I love this exercise they do where they're trying to get a good story together, and like he's got these rapid fire questions that he thinks that like she'll be asked, and she's supposed to like think on her feet, and, you know, and she just can't do it. She can't, like, yeah, like you said.
I mean,
there's no way she can keep her story straight.
Yeah, especially when you're still, you know, half awake on
I
sleeping
know.
pills.
That's
you
right.
know,
You're still
there's
reeling
no way.
from, yeah, exactly. And you haven't eaten. I mean, like, and you just committed suicide. You're not in a good place at all.
No, physically and mentally.
Right.
Like, you just had your stomach pumped,
Yes.
essentially. So, yeah. What she did before, actually, was she left a note that night, too, and he kind of took it and hid it. And they go into the bedroom so she can rest, right? And he's going to keep her entertained. They're going to play gin rummy. And at one point, she tells him to open up the note. And what's in the note is the $100 bill. There's no note. It's
Right.
just an envelope with the bill in it. Which, if that doesn't tell him anything he needs to know, then he's an idiot.
If Fran had successfully committed suicide and the suicide note was the $100 bill and it was brought to Sheldrake's attention, I know he'd understand the reference. Do you think it would have affected him?
Not at all.
Okay.
I don't think he would care.
Okay.
He would move on to the next.
Right.
It's like, hey, I got my $100 back. What an asshole. Yeah, I hate this guy. I can't believe Fred McMurray is this despicable.
I know.
Right?
Right.
Billy Wilder does it to him, man.
I know.
Double indemnity, man. He's not a great guy either.
But at least he comes up with a great scheme. Him and Barbara Stanwyck, that deal's going great.
Yeah, it goes great for a while.
Right, for a while.
But yeah, in this movie, you just hate his guts so much,
Yeah.
and he makes it so easy for you to hate him.
Yeah, and that's one thing I love about his performance too. Is I don't know. There's something about the way he talks, the way he holds himself. His emotions are never above like the most average register.
Yeah.
I mean, he just encounters everything, even a life-threatening situation or something. I mean, where it's just like it's major, or could be work-related, could be personal, and he does not react.
Yeah, and it's almost like he has the perfect response to everything that
I know.
happens to
Right.
get what he wants. Like,
Yeah.
he knows exactly the right thing to say.
Yeah.
If it's genuine or not.
I know, exactly. And when someone like steps to him or stands up to him or in any way, he knows exactly what to say to put them back in their place.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's just so put together.
So while she's in bed, they're playing gin rummy. to keep entertained. And she says a lot of really introspective stuff about love and why she's like this. And it's quite a good scene.
Yes.
She's just like, I'm going to give it all up. Like, why do people have to love people anyways? You know, she's just very down about life. And I think he says, you know, you're a bad insurance risk. Like, he doesn't call her that straight up. She asks about it.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, a bad insurance risk.
Right.
That's what I am, a bad insurance risk. Yeah, she's cursed with men, all these horrible things, man. And she reveals there's been the other guys. She's been through the same thing with like 3 or 4 other guys. The exact same. They all say the same thing. They all do the same thing. And she hates herself for continuing to fall for these ploys. She gets in the same mess every time.
Well, and I said earlier how I just can't comprehend how, like, you fall for the same thing every time. But, I mean, that's an unfair assessment of it. I know why you fall for the same thing every time. Because, you know, when it comes to, like, matters of the heart, there is no rationality. Because there's the promise of this, you know, incredible thing that we're all striving for. And you just let yourself, you know, get hoodwinked.
Yeah, she's like totally blinded by love all the time.
Right.
Like, I mentioned earlier how much I like her character, how dynamic it is. Like, I love how she's so naive and candid all the time, too.
Yes.
It's a strange combination.
Right.
Because she isn't afraid to speak her mind or to call things out as they are, but she's always just totally oblivious to what's happening to her, especially with romance.
Right.
She just lets people take advantage of her, hoping she gets what she wants. I don't even know if she knows what she wants.
Well, and her personality is kind of that wisecracking, you know, like she's a real charming type person. And like, there's a reason, not just because of what she looks like. A lot of people would fall in love with her the second they meet her, because she's incredibly, you know, beautiful. It's Shirley MacLaine. And then on top of that, she's got this great wit, and she's really fun to be around. And like, even in this moment where she's like really depressed, and she doesn't even try to, you know, like, play cards in a coherent way. She's still like, you're just watching going, oh my God, this woman is so irresistible, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I feel like she's similar to Baxter in certain ways too, with that, because Baxter's also doesn't really know what he wants. And he kind of does. He wants to get that, you know, corporate office.
Yes.
But he's letting people use him to get that too. Just like she's letting people use her.
That's right.
And they both think they're going to get what they desire, but they're not.
Yeah. And I don't know what he thinks is going to happen after he gets his office. I mean, like, where does it end?
Yeah. How long does he have to keep playing ball?
I guess, yeah. I mean, if you did this to get that, then, like, you're going to have to just keep doing this to get that forever.
Like, apparently he is a good worker, right?
Yeah.
He's like in the top 10 for recommendation or whatever.
Yes, that's right.
And so he can perform.
Sure.
But that's not what got him where he ends up, right? That's not what got him the promotion.
No. Because, like, he could have been in the top 10 for the next 2 years, and like, if they could have, those other guys could have just kept stringing him along. Hey, listen, I put in my report to Sheldrake that you're the man, you know.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Right. So I mean, it could pay off, but then what do you do when you're there?
Right.
You know, if you're at the top, how do you go higher?
Yeah.
You can't.
Right.
So, they're playing gin rummy in the bed, and they don't finish the game because she falls asleep. And at this moment, Qube shows up because he had a 4:00 appointment. He comes in and he's upset because he's supposed to have the place
On Christmas Day, by the way.
And then he looks in and he sees, oh, Fran's in there. Oh my God, you dog! Like, I didn't know you got action too. Like,
yeah, and of course, Fran is the girl that every guy at the insurance place has
he
tried
was
to
just
get
smacking
with.
her ass the other day.
Right.
God. So he's like, get the fuck out of my apartment.
Yes.
And Qbe's kind of like, oh, man, yeah, I'll get out. You do it, man. You do you. I'll find another place. Don't worry.
Sure, right.
Like, ooh, you know. He's like super happy that Baxter has a passed out woman in his bed.
I know. That's the other thing, too. Like, imagine being excited that your friend or your business associate is going to have sex. Jesus.
Well, that's all these guys care about, right? That's
yeah.
why they're doing this.
That's true. That's true.
Well, I like it because he thought differently about him, right? Like
Right.
this guy's just a pushover. He's not getting action.
That's true,
This guy
yeah.
does whatever we tell him.
Right.
But then he realizes, oh wait, maybe he's not who I thought he was.
Maybe there's some hidden
It's kind of
depth.
funny.
Yeah.
It's not who he is either. So you got the wrong idea.
Exactly. Just open your eyes, Kirkby, for once.
So yeah, we get a scene later. I guess it's the next day. Who knows? But Sheldrake is at work. He's in his big corporate office, and he calls his receptionist, Miss Olson, in to talk to her, and he immediately fires her. I'll arrange for you to get 4 weeks' pay. And she's like, "Oh, what?
Yeah.
What?" And it's because she was talking about, their affairs with
Right.
Fran and stuff, and he doesn't want this getting out.
Right. He figured out essentially that like she spoke to Fran and yeah, that it's probably not the first time she's talked about it. And there was a great shot earlier when they were at the Chinese restaurant, and
Yeah.
as Fran and Sheldrake leave, the camera goes on this woman who like turns around in the booth, and it's Edie Adams, but we don't know that in the moment. And
Yeah.
then she puts those like cat eye glasses on. You're like, oh, it's Miss Olson.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good reveal.
Yeah, it's great. And she's kind of looking like,
Yes.
information.
Right. Exactly.
And then she slowly turns back around to the table. Yep. That will come into play later,
That's
I'm
right.
sure. Yeah, this happens. She's not happy about it at all.
Uh-huh.
So she goes and cleans her desk out, and while she's out there, there's a phone call with his wife, right? It's his wife who calls, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. And so she listens in again, and it's great. And she gets this idea, hey, I'm going to talk to his wife. So, yeah.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah. So, actually, does she call his wife? I can't remember.
So I don't know if the
It's
wife
something.
called, but she essentially, Miss Olson
Yeah.
gets his wife on the phone and makes a lunch date.
Yeah.
And and we know exactly what's coming.
Yep. She's going to find some information that she desperately needs to find out.
Yeah.
And as soon as she says that, I got so happy. I'm like, good, this guy's going to get what's coming to him finally. He deserves this.
Right.
Yeah, and then I think this is also the part where Carl comes into the building.
Oh yeah, Carl Matuszka, Johnny 7 as Carl Matuszka.
Johnny 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
This dude is just like straight out of. I mean, like.
He was born in a cab.
Yes,
Like-
exactly.
He comes storming in like, you don't know who this guy is. He comes out of nowhere. You're like,
Right.
And this guy comes walking into this building like demanding stuff, asking hard questions. Like, I need to talk to who's in charge here. And like, he finally goes up to, I guess it's Kirkby and some of the other managers, right? And he reveals like, I'm Fran's brother-in-law, and she didn't come home last night, and apparently she was here. I need to know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys here had just found out that, Kirkby saw him with Fran. So they're like, well, I don't know. What do you think? You think we can help out our friend here? They're like, yeah, Buddy Boy's not doing anything for us anymore. So they kind of, you could say, throw him under the bus.
They sandbag
They're not
him, yeah.
protecting any secrets or anything. Like,
Right.
it's probably good that he knows where she is,
Sure.
right?
Right.
But these guys are used to keeping secrets.
Yes.
And they're not.
And because we know that like, okay, I guess it's a good thing that like, her brother-in-law is looking out for her, but we don't know like what kind of guy this guy is exactly. I mean, maybe it's dangerous or whatever, but these assholes, they're not being able to like hang out with their mistresses anymore. So yeah, they're just gonna
Right.
like,
And they think, okay, so he's up there screwing Fran.
Right.
The brother-in-law is going to walk in and then beat his ass.
Yes,
That's
right.
what we want.
right.
Yep. So, I guess this is later in the day.
Yep.
Baxter is making a spaghetti dinner using a tennis racket as the strainer. And it's got to be the most disgusting spaghetti ever.
I know, yeah, exactly. Because I mean, like, even if this was a brand new tennis racket, that's not what it's for. And
I'm sure it's a filthy old tennis racket.
yes, just like like the kitchen that used to be in these old places. I love like trying to think of like ways I could like make a a good meal in there with that equipment. You know, would I be able to even work any of it? Who knows? But like on top of that, you have no space. And people did it.
This is like a shoebox of a kitchen,
yes,
man.
It is.
It's tiny.
Right.
And he's using a giant tennis racket?
I know.
Come on, get a little strainer, dude.
Yeah. I found out that like Billy Wilder, he doesn't like improv. And this is the one time he allowed Jack Lemmon to like, you know, kind of make something up as he went along. It was this this bit with the tennis racket. Mm-hmm. That was all Jack Lemmon's idea.
Yeah, when he like serves the meatballs.
Yes.
Himself. Yeah,
right.
And it's pretty funny.
It's funny,
pretty good.
yeah, of course.
You see my backhand? He like tips it over. Like,
it's good. It's a good line. It's a good bit.
Yeah. So they're gonna have this candlelight spaghetti dinner.
Yeah.
So I guess she's agreed to kind of like lay low here till she's better. You know, she hasn't really fought it since the initial. I got to call my sister. And I think that's when she first mentions her brother-in-law. Like, he's going to look for me.
Right.
So they sit down to eat dinner, and the door gets banged on, and it's Carl. He comes storming in, and he's ready to clobber him. He's going to clobber Baxter. That's what he says to him. Tell me what's going on here, right? And then the doctor also shows up for some reason. I don't remember why.
Yeah, I was it because they needed to borrow some something for the meal? I think
some napkins or something.
Right.
I don't remember.
Because like the lady Mrs. Dreyfus was in and out of the apartment too. She was helping to like during the convalescence. You know, she was bringing Fran some soup and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So everybody's kind of like just back and forth between the places. And yeah, the doctor shows up and like Carl. Okay, when Carl busts in. If he thinks that, like, this is Fran's boyfriend, is he just, like, reacting the way he is because she's got a boyfriend or because he thinks she's been kidnapped?
I think he's just an asshole who doesn't want her to have a boyfriend.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Because I think Fran mentions at one point, like, or maybe Carl says it, like your sister thinks you're a good woman or something. Like, you can't be staying over the night at the men's house, you know?
Right.
Yeah, something like that.
Your sister thinks you're a nice girl, right?
Yeah, so now the doctor's there and like they're trying to explain what happened without explaining what happened to Carl, and it's a really bad job.
Right.
And
right.
It ends up looking really bad for Baxter because he says like she took the sleeping pills and it's my fault, and then Carl gets upset and punches him in the face. And I read that this was a real punch because Jack Lemmon didn't like turn the right way.
Oh, God.
So he got clobbered for real.
Nice.
And they'd use that take.
I mean, you know what? Anytime, like, as long as all the actors are okay with it, I'm okay with like a real punch.
Yeah.
I don't think this was one of those times. I think Johnny Seven probably just like didn't know how to pull a punch to begin with. And if Jack Lemmon turned the wrong way, that's the other part of it.
Yeah, I mean,
both guys making big errors.
Yeah, but I guess it's effective because he gets knocked on his ass on the floor.
That's right. But like, you know, the whole thing too of the doctor being on hand to like, you know, mend him somewhat, and like. It's funny to watch Jack Lemmon's face. He's like proud of the moment. He's okay with having been slugged
because he gets a kiss on the forehead from Shirley MacLaine.
Yeah, that's. I guess that's a pretty good trade.
Yeah, he says, "Stay here. I'll go get my bag. Don't worry, Doc. It doesn't hurt a bit." Because he's got that little smile on his face. Yeah, so I guess she's gone now.
Right,
I mean, kidnapped
she goes home
by
with
Carl.
That's right. Oh my God.
She's a grown woman. Come on, man.
I know. The whole thing of like, you know, the men in your life, you know, I thought you were a nice girl. What business is it of yours where she stays?
None.
I mean, Jesus Christ. And she is a nice girl. She can have sex every night with every different man. She's still a nice girl.
Yes. She's amazing.
Right.
So yeah, I guess she's gone, and the next day Baxter's at work and he's gonna meet with Sheldrake and say, hey, you know, you don't got to worry about her anymore. I'm going to take her off your hands, you know, because I'm in love with her.
Yeah.
And she's going to be with me because I love her. It's just these men thinking like, okay, that girl's mine now.
Yeah.
So you don't have her, I have her.
And I mean, he's got like a suitcase there because like he's now staying down at the athletic club.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, the wife threw him out, see?
Yep.
And, that his life actually kind of improved, for him. Now that he's rid of the
Right.
ball and chain.
It's like I'm ready to live the bachelor life for a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. But the perverted thing is that, like, he's eventually going to want his family back because that's just like men think that that's what they're supposed to be doing, that they're supposed to have a wife and family.
Yeah.
And even if it in no way suits their personality, which it doesn't half the time, they don't actually want it. They just think it's something they should have
Right.
because their contemporaries have it.
I think also, especially in this instance, it's a issue of power.
There's
issue
that
of
too,
control.
Yes, of course.
I lost them, and I can't do anything about it.
Right.
No one treats me like this.
Oh.
I have to get them back just to prove to myself how in control I am.
Oh my God. I can like complain about it until for every day I have left on Earth, and I'm just never gonna get over it. It's
Yeah. So he wants to go up there and tell him, Sheldrake, don't worry, she's my girl now. You don't have to worry. But no, Sheldrake, it says, hey, you don't have to worry.
yeah.
I'm single. Now she's all mine. And that's not what he expected. And Sheldrake offers him another promotion. He shows him the former assistant director's office, which is right next door.
Right.
Like, yeah, my assistant moved to, Connecticut or
Denver.
something. Yeah. And I want you to take his old position. So now he's like got a huge promotion, all because of, what he's doing for him. This corporate tete-a-tete. I hate this shit.
I know, and especially like just promotions being given out like candy too. That really sucks because it's like, I mean, dude, okay, like there are people, the rest of the people in that office, and we saw the office earlier, and it was one of those giant, expansive spaces, that just desks for days.
Yes,
and
it's a cool shot.
It is a really good shot. And we know that there's people out there who are just as good as Baxter at their job, but they will never get like anything. They'll never even get like a cost of living increase over the next few years. It's all luck.
Right.
It's all a matter of like, just the whims of the powerful.
And isn't Baxter an accountant at this firm? And now he's assistant director of personnel? I don't know who rolls up to who, but
I
that
know.
doesn't sound right to me.
The reporting structure's all out of
I mean, you
whack.
can take
yeah.
like horizontal moves in a corporation,
Yeah,
but like
it
this doesn't
happens.
sound right.
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, he went from the accountant to this whatever title he had when he had the small office, and now he's the assistant director of personnel. Who knows?
This is within 5 days, right?
Yeah.
Like this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like if HR wasn't saying, "Hey, what's going on with this
Right.
promotion here?"
Imagine saying the words saying HR to one of these men. Like if you
Yeah.
walked up, hey, what is HR? What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, they have no idea what that means.
Human resources. I don't even know what that.
Human resources are who they think these people they're abusing are.
Yeah.
These are my resources, and they
yes.
are humans.
You're right. That is how they would define them. That's
They're
true.
barely humans. At least that's how they think of them.
And we got to devise ways to not pay so many of them.
Right,
So we
yeah.
need to find efficiencies.
Oh, I have something to talk about after we're done recording about that. We'll get to
Please.
that later.
Okay.
It's not an on-air topic, everybody.
Okay.
So, suspense. But yeah, so after this, he meets Fran down in the lobby again. They see each other. And they talk about, like, how they're doing. Like, oh, yeah, we're both fine now. I think they think they're fine, but they're not fine.
Right. They're just living they're just boyfriend
Right.
and girlfriend.
Fran's
here.
like, oh, yeah, Jeff his wife left him. So, yeah, we're going to be together now. And that's what I wanted. And Baxter's like, well, yeah, I got that big office promotion now. I got what I wanted.
Right, because like when she encounters him, he's watching like the one dude in the lobby like put the stencil letters on the
Yeah.
He's so proud
His
of
name's
it.
on the board now.
Yeah,
21st floor or whatever the hell it is.
Right.
Yeah. And this is so pathetic, the way they're talking to each other here.
I
You're
know.
like, guys, you don't really believe what you're saying, right?
And especially with Fran, obviously, because I mean, like, yeah, okay. I bet that at this moment in the last few weeks, when her and Sheldrake have been going out in the town probably every night, he's probably buying steak dinners left and right.
Oh,
and
yeah.
just really like he's so excited to not have to go home, I guess.
Yeah.
That he probably is being really generous with everything.
Probably.
But like she has to know that's not going to last, and there's a good chance he'll go back to his wife.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's just Yeah.
It definitely will happen.
Right.
And Baxter says something here about how, like, Sheldrake thought he was using me, but I've been using him the whole time.
Right.
Because he finally got what he wanted.
Right.
No, dude, you're wrong.
Baxter,
it's so
please,
sad to see
don't-
them both do this.
I know. They really talk themselves and each other into it.
Yeah, and I think Fran even says something to him like, "Hey, do you want to go out, like, or something right now?" And he's like, "No, I'm meeting. I got a date with a girl," and like points to some woman like down the hall.
Yeah, there's this woman
Yeah.
like over in the lobby who looks like Lauren Bacall. And
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, that's my date," and he's, "Oh, well, okay, well, have fun." And then they separate, and we see him walk toward her, and some other guy comes over, and they go arm in arm away.
Yeah, then he grabs like a magazine. Yep. Yeah.
He's going home alone.
Lying dude. Sorry, man. Just pretending it's all right.
Right.
Sure. All these people just pretending it's okay.
Jesus, man.
Get a grip. Come on. So we cut to New Year's Day. Sheldrake is like in the office with Baxter, and he tells him, "Yeah, I need the key, man. I need that key. I got something going on tonight. Got to use the apartment."
It's New Year's Eve.
Yeah. Well, it was not New Year's Day. It's the day of New Year's Eve, I
Yes,
guess I should
right.
say. New Year's Eve. And he's not really liking this idea.
Right.
Baxter says this isn't a really good idea. Like, you shouldn't bring Fran to that apartment. That's not a good idea at all.
Right.
And Sheldrake is completely oblivious to what that place might do to her in that environment with him. He just doesn't care.
Right. Baxter was willing to go against his better judgment and put aside his feelings about Fran, knowing that she was at least having some semblance of a happy time with Sheldrake while he's in this state,
Mm-hmm.
and, taking her out every night and showing her a good time. But to know that, like, he's going to take her back unfeelingly to the place where she tried to kill herself. He doesn't have any emotion about it.
He didn't even think about it.
Right. This is like kind of where in this moment, it's very satisfying for us, the audience, because finally he's not only stepping up, but he's like not giving Sheldrake anything.
Yep. But then Sheldrake starts to threaten him.
Right.
He says, "Hey, it's easy to get these promotions, but it's also easy to lose them. You got to play ball. You got to do what you need to do." And after threatening him to kicking him down to the curb again, he pulls the key out of his pocket kind of hesitantly and tosses it onto Sheldrake's desk. "All right, there you go, buddy boy. All right, cool."
Yeah.
And he goes into his office, like his assistant director office right next door.
Right.
And he starts putting things in his bag. And it turns out he's quitting. Sheldrake is like, "What are you doing?" He threw the washroom key on his desk.
Right. Sheldrake comes in and like identifies it. "Hey, Baxter, you gave me the wrong key. I just
Yep.
realized that."
Yep. He's like, "No, I gave you the right key. I'm out of here." Screw you, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It's so good because, like, obviously he's giving up everything that he was after. This is what he's like. I mean, his whole life has been based on getting this big promotion, and now he's got it, and he's willing to give it up to do what's right.
Finally.
Yes.
Finally. Even if he doesn't end up with Shirley MacLaine.
Right.
He's doing what's right.
Right.
You can't take that woman to that place. I'm out of here.
Not on my watch,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not going to like manipulate me anymore. And if you want to like get some other asshole to
Right.
to push around, fine. But it's not going to be me.
That's right, and I'm out of here. And he walks out. He's got his bowler hat on. And as he's leaving, he puts it on the janitor who's by the elevator,
Yes.
which I love. The janitor kind of looks up like, "What?"
I know.
And the hat, of course, symbolizes what he's been working towards, and he's done with it, right? So it's pretty good. Yeah, so he's home. He's packing up his apartment and stuff, and he sees the spaghetti racket, and he gets kind of emotional about the dinner he had and
Yeah.
the moments he's had with Shirley MacLaine. And he's also revealed earlier in the film he had also had a suicide attempt
Yeah.
where he accidentally shot himself in the knee because the police came and like startled him and interrupted him.
Right.
But he was going to blow his head off.
Right.
So in this moment, he's packing up stuff in his apartment, and then he finds the gun. And we're like, uh-oh, what's going to happen here?
And he's so casual with that gun too. He picks it up, and it's a big gun. It's like a 9mm.
Yeah.
And he just kind of like tosses it on the chair like without a thought when he goes to answer the door.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Who's at the door?
I can't remember.
It's Dr. Dreyfus, right? Like, what are you
yeah,
doing? Like,
it's
he's
the
like,
doctor.
well, I'm moving on, you know, like
Right.
I'm leaving the apartment and stuff. So,
Yes.
yeah, you need a change.
Yeah, I mean, because he
You can't stay in this filth hole. How many diseases are in this place?
Oh my God! Yeah, don't do a black light in there, dude. You don't want to know.
But yeah, and he tells him like, "Hey, you've been a great neighbor." You
Yeah.
know? Well, what do I owe you for the visit the other night? No, I did it as a neighbor, not as a doctor. It's
Right.
free. So, pretty good stuff.
It's a great guy.
I can see why he got the Oscar nomination for that. So
Yes. Yeah. Jack Crucian is excellent in this movie.
yeah. So then we cut to a New Year's Eve party happening at the Chinese restaurant, and Shirley MacLaine and Fred McMurray are in that same booth that they're always in. Everyone's there going nuts because it's about to be New Year's. They're singing and dancing, having drinks, and Fred McMurray comes back and sits down like after getting something at the bar or something, and he's like, "Hey, I had to get us a cab to Atlantic City." And Shirley MacLaine's kind of like, "What? Why?" "Well, the place we're going to go, I can't get it, and you can't get a hotel in the city at this time, and so we're going there." And she just realizes, like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
He's doing the same shit again.
And I'm gonna take a 2-hour cab ride on New Year's Eve to freaking Atlantic City? No goddamn way.
No way, dude. And he's just totally oblivious to it. And he starts giving some, like, excuse, like, yeah, Baxter wouldn't give me the key. Like, say it is Baxter's fault, right? Like, he was an asshole.
Right.
He wouldn't give me the key. What's wrong with him? And he definitely said, no one's allowed to go into that apartment, especially not Miss Kubelik. And Shirley MacLaine's like, he said that? Really? He said that about me? Like, she doesn't say that out loud. Like,
Right.
He says, but he said that? And he goes, yeah, I don't know what he's got against you.
Yeah. Sheldrake thinks it's because.
Are you an idiot?
Yeah. Yeah. You are. Yeah. You are. But like, you're this. You have this little perception of what's going on.
And Shirley MacLaine is immediately like, oh my God, I'm with the wrong guy.
Right.
And he's totally oblivious to it. He thinks everything's fine and settled now. You know, like, Baxter sucks. We got to go to Atlantic City now. It's settled. And then he starts singing, you know, with everyone. And then as he turns around after everyone's done toasting New Year's, she's gone. She's not there anymore.
And I know we'll get to the climax. That's the most important thing of their meeting at the apartment. But I got to say one more thing about this Atlantic City trip.
Yes.
This ill-fated cab ride. You're in Manhattan. How did you couldn't get a hotel? Like, it's the big. You go to the Waldorf.
There's got to be a hotel
Right. You're
somewhere.
filthy rich. You can get a place. Just, I don't know.
Go to the office.
There's that too. You could just. That's true.
No
Yes.
one's going to be there,
That's
and
true.
no one's going to care. You're Mr. Sheldrake.
Yes.
You're in charge of this building.
That's right, dude.
So just say you need a Fran to operate the elevator. You have to
Uh-huh.
get something. There you go.
Right.
But yeah, she's gone. He's left high and dry at the Chinese restaurant, you know, sitting alone like he deserves.
Yes.
And so she runs over to the apartment because she knows Baxter's who I want to be with. And she gets there, and we hear a gunshot. And we think, oh, no, he killed himself. But no, he didn't. She knocks on the door, and he opens the door with a bottle of champagne he just popped.
Right.
It's kind of a cheap thing. I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't think he was really going to kill himself. And then
No.
they do this, like, fake out on you.
He didn't seem like fully suicidal.
No,
Like,
he didn't.
Yeah.
And so she comes in, and they start celebrating New Year's together.
Mm-hmm.
And they decide to play a game of gin because they never finished that first one.
Right.
And so they're sitting there dealing cards, and they're like smitten with each other here, sitting next to each other on the couch. And he looks at her and he's like, I love you, Miss Kubelik. And she doesn't say anything.
Right.
He's like, did you hear me? I absolutely adore you. And she looks at him and says, shut up and deal. Cue the end music and the credits.
So, if I told someone I love you, I absolutely adore you, and they said shut up and deal, I would probably take it as like, okay, that's a nice, like kind of a good
Yeah.
barb back at me, whatever. But like, I'd feel a little bit like a little vulnerable.
You would, right? But in this instance, because that's Shirley MacLaine's character, that's how Fran interacts,
That's
right?
true,
That's
yeah.
her way of communicating, I love you too.
That's true.
That's how I feel, at least.
And I think that if I were Baxter in that moment, maybe I'd feel that same way. Of
I
like,
think
I'd
I
interpret
think
it.
that's how he
Yeah,
took it. Like,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
Right.
That's what she thinks, but she's being, saying something smart and funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's a great ending line.
Oh, I do too. Yeah.
It's perfect. And I read that they made it up on the day. Like, they
Oh.
just made it up.
Okay.
Like, okay, what are we going to do? Shut up and deal. There we go.
I mean, it's a really good ending, and it's a really good like Billy Wilder film ending. I mean, he was like like the ending of the last line of "Some Like It Hot" is like nobody's perfect. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a famous line.
It's
and,
great.
Yeah, and "Shut Up and Deal" is right up there, I think, with that same.
I agree.
Yeah,
I like Shut Up and Deal better.
I do too. Actually,
I think it's
yes.
great. But yeah, that's the end of the movie, and we don't know what happens. You know, are
Right.
they together? Maybe they are.
And I mean, like, yeah, maybe the whole thing ends in 3 weeks, but it'll at least be an honest relationship, an honest attempt at a relationship, and it won't be something where like someone is being predatory.
Right.
And he's got a lot in his life to sort out. I mean, he's got to find a new job.
New job, new place.
Yeah.
She needs a new job, right?
That's right.
Like-
Exactly. Yeah, she's not going to be able to like work the elevators anymore. She ditched Sheldrake.
Yeah, so I mean, like, even if it doesn't work out, they've both grown into what they needed to grow into, right?
Yes.
Like, they've both learned their lesson. They both know who they are and what they need to do. So even if they don't stay together, they'll both be all right.
Right.
You know, hopefully Fran doesn't have any more incidents with men like this.
Yes.
She's finally learned her lesson. And then hopefully Baxter learns not to just be a doormat.
I mean, yes.
Which it looks like he did.
Yes.
So
That's very important too. Like, yeah, Fran has to, you know, like, okay, she's with a nice guy finally, and maybe this will work. If it doesn't work out, at least she'll know what a nice guy looks like.
yeah.
And yeah, Baxter, he's got to be stronger. He's got to show some backbone occasionally, and he has to tell people, I don't appreciate you treating me this way.
I think he will from now on.
Yeah.
I really do. So yeah, that's the end of the movie. Dave, do you have anything else?
One quick thing about real estate.
Okay.
We earlier in the movie when like you hear Jack Lemmon's narration about everything, he said that the rent on his place was $85 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And like you did the inflation math earlier about another thing.
Yeah, it was
another
like
item.
10 times, right?
Yes. So this
Roughly.
would I looked it up, and it would be $922 in today's money, and that's a somewhat affordable price for an apartment today. But that's not how real estate moguls in New York have managed it, because like you wouldn't be charged that amount for that apartment in New York City today.
No, that'd be like $3,000
At
maybe.
least that's
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's probably the cheapest you're going to get. That kind of affordable housing that you could like, where you could like live close to your workplace in the city, it doesn't exist in New York or really any other city in America anymore. Like it's just man, the state of everything is so terrible, and it's never going back.
We didn't learn our lessons.
We certainly didn't.
Fred McMurray's getting away with it.
I mean,
Dave.
yeah, Sheldrake is still in charge. Everybody, don't even worry about it.
It sucks. Why do you have to do math, Dave? Man.
I know.
But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty nice apartment, right?
It's a really cool
Yeah.
place. I mean, like
It's like a
especially-
1-bedroom. It's not huge, but
No.
you can live there and enjoy it.
I mean, like
don't
it
feel
would be-
trapped.
No, of course, it would be a place for like a couple or a person living by themselves. And the outside, but it's like there's that great stoop outside.
Yeah.
This is like the ideal place to live in.
Speaking of that apartment, it's unrealistically laid out if you look at it.
Yes.
Like there's windows in the bedroom and like the kitchen and like Dr. Dreyfuss's apartment's right
Yeah,
there. It's
yeah.
like Seinfeld's apartment, right? It can't exist in this space.
Yes. Those prop windows. Yeah. they messed that up.
Oh well.
Right.
It's fine. All right, Dave. So would you recommend this movie?
Man, yes. I can't recommend The Apartment enough, everybody. Like, and just honestly, the films of Billy Wilder in general, just see them all.
They're all amazing, whether they're his comedies or his noirs,
Yep.
anything. They're all worth a watch, no
Right.
matter what. Start with the big heavy hitters and then work your way down.
There you go.
You'll be happy, whatever you're watching.
Yes.
All right, so that wraps things up. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to the show anywhere you get your podcasts. Rate it, review it, and most of all, share it. It gets more dudes listening to the dudes, and you can go to dudesonmovies.com and find anything you need right there.
Yes, and we're on Facebook, Blue Sky, TikTok, and Instagram. Look for Dudes on Movies, and our email address is dudesonmovies@gmail.com.
That's right. Dave, we have a question of the week. What is the question of the week?
What are the best movies where you're mad at the main character?
That's right. Let us know. Hit us up on social media. We want to know your answers. And stay tuned next week when we kick off Dudes on Demand. It's January, Dave. It's listener request month. Our first one here comes from Max. We're doing 1979's Caligula, but we're watching the ultimate cut from 2024. This film was directed by Tinto Brass and starring Malcolm McDowell and Helen Mirren. So until next week, I'm your dude Scott.
I'm your dude Dave.
And we'll see you next time.